Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. There's a harsh truth, quietly operating in modern society. We've been programmed by an outdated behavioral script that tells us a bigger house is the ultimate symbol of success. Crowds out there are racing to own luxurious spaces with money they don't yet have. But from a true risk management perspective, this is often the biggest barrier preventing you from achieving real financial freedom. Have you ever wondered why, at the same income level, some people build generational wealth, while others stayed trapped in a vicious cycle of bills, mortgage payments, and operating costs for their so-called dream home? The reality is, upgrading your living space too early is rarely an investment. It's often a knee-jerk reaction driven by the principle of social proof. In today's video, I'm going to break down 10 intelligent reasons why buying a bigger house is truly the #1 financial killer of net worth. This isn't about preaching a frugal lifestyle. This is a deep conversation to help you rise above common financial pitfalls and become the true captain of your own destiny. Let's dive in. The trap of social proof and social display pressure. Society runs on the principle of imitation. When we see people around us upgrading to bigger homes, our brains automatically signal that we're falling behind. In the United States, this is known as keeping up with the Joneses. And it fueled an entire generation of McMansions, oversized, flashy homes in the 2000s. According to Zillow in 2026, many families are now rushing to sell their McMansions, after realizing they're not assets but financial burdens. However, truly wealthy people understand the law of real value. They're willing to live quietly to focus entirely on growing their net worth. Buying a bigger house just to impress people you don't even truly like is the fastest way to imprison your financial soldiers inside brick walls, instead of sending them into battle to generate returns. The erosion of surplus and the death zone of compound interest. Self-made millionaires make money work hard for them through the miracle of compound interest. When you pour all your seed capital into a massive consumption asset like a huge house, you're unknowingly destroying the runway of time for your cash flow. According to Bankrate's 2025 study, the average annual cost to own and maintain a single-family home in the U.S. exceeds $21.400, with maintenance alone averaging over $8.800, and this figure can easily double or more for larger homes. Every dollar spent on interest, utilities, and upkeep for excess space is a compounded loss. For example, putting $2 million into a bigger house instead of investing it at 8 to 10% return could cost you hundreds of thousands in compound interest each year. People with financial intelligence always pay themselves first. By directing capital into productive investments rather than burying it in spaces that don't generate cash flow. The application of the contrast principle in the chain of induced spending. Once you own a large house, you fall into a subtle perceptual contrast effect. In the context of a multi-million-dollar villa, spending a few $100,000 more on a sofa or lighting system suddenly feels small and acceptable. Retailers know this very well. They use your house as a starter item to trigger an endless chain of non-productive purchases. A couple in the U.S. shared on Business Insider, after building their dream home 15 years ago, they gradually spent hundreds of thousands extra on furniture, lighting, and decor, simply because everything looked reasonable in such a big space. The result? You don't just lose money on the house, you also sacrifice financial discipline to serve an illusory lifestyle. The confusion between active income and net worth. Most people use earned income, a vulnerable resource limited by time, to commit to long-term debt. This is the core mistake of the employee mindset, believing that compensation directly tied to physical labor will last forever. Wealthy people obsess over building self-sustaining systems. When you upgrade your house too early, you lock yourself into the hamster wheel, forcing yourself to work harder just to maintain a liability, instead of using specialized knowledge to free your labor. The instinct of acting despite fear and real freedom. The line between prosperity and poverty lies in the ability to master the fear of not being like the crowd. The masses feel safe when they behave like everyone else, even if it leads to financial paralysis. Those who control their destiny have the courage to stand outside the pressure of time and mass consumption trends. Warren Buffett, one of the richest people on earth, still lives in the modest house he bought in 1958 for just $31.500. Even though his net worth now exceeds $160 billion. Choosing to reject a bigger house in favor of a calm, high-performing investment portfolio is proof of intelligence that has risen above the noise. The paralysis of specialized knowledge and learning barriers. One intellectual trap few recognize is that pouring all your mental energy into managing a large house unknowingly slams shut the window of your intellect. Specialized knowledge delivers the highest ROI. When you're overwhelmed by the operating costs of a luxurious home, which often consume 1 to 3% of the home's value annually for maintenance, you'll have no energy left to spot new opportunities in the market. Wealthy people never stop learning and growing. They rise above finite material needs to own a mental operating system capable of solving far more complex problems. The illusion created by the authority principle of sales experts. During the house buying journey, you're often guided by the authority principle from realtors or architects. They use fake symbols of power to convince you that a bigger house is a smart investment. In reality, they operate based on their own interests, not your net worth. People with financial intelligence always ask, how truly honest is this person in this situation? To avoid falling into mindless consensus traps. The mistake of either-or thinking and the limited choice trap. Poor people are trapped in either-or thinking. Either live luxuriously now or wait until old age. In contrast, true wealth managers always think in both and. They design a life where passive cash flow from money printing machines can comfortably fund luxury, without touching seed capital. Instead of relying on raw active income, they use the judo principle, leveraging other assets to acquire living space. The pressure of consistency and the chain reaction of lifestyle inflation. Once you decide to buy a bigger house, you've made a public commitment to a certain status. Internal pressure then forces you to act consistently with that image, upgrading your car, choosing expensive schools, and taking luxury vacations just to match. This is lifestyle inflation through a chain effect, often causing other spending categories to rise by 20 to 50%, pushing total costs far beyond projections. A couple in the U.S. shared on Business Insider, after moving into a larger home. They unconsciously spent tens of thousands more each year on furniture, cars, and vacations, simply to fit the space. Wealthy people understand the law of value. They stay quiet so money serves their legacy goals. The reciprocity principle and the cost of social expectations. A bigger house often comes with a higher-tier social network, where the reciprocity principle operates extremely powerfully. When you receive invitations or favors from wealthy neighbors, your brain automatically generates an obligation to respond at the same standard. The costs of hosting parties or giving expensive gifts don't just erode finances, they also consume your most valuable resource, time. Many families in affluent U.S. neighborhoods share that they feel pressured to host endless events and buy costly gifts just to save face. Those who break free from the rat race are the ones brave enough to reject these unwanted debts and focus entirely on investment performance. Dear friends, at the end of the day, money is simply a receipt confirming how well we understand the laws of life. The biggest house you truly need to invest in isn't real estate. It's the intellectual space inside your own mind. Take a moment to ask yourself, am I working every day to build a castle for others to admire? Or am I quietly building a financial army to buy freedom for myself and future generations? True wealth tends to be silent, and needs no social proof to exist. The decision to change starts with the courage to shed those old programmed scripts and operate under a new intelligent operating system, beginning right now. Real freedom is when you stand above all financial fluctuations, knowing that your intelligence and discipline are the strongest protection for your family. If this sharing brought you value, please hit like and share right now to spread this prosperous financial mindset. Drop a comment below with "big house" if you're considering a larger home, or "right-sized house" if you agree to prioritize financial freedom first. Wishing you steadfastness, clarity, and the achievement of true freedom soon. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode.